Donald Trump didn't always hire the very best people, as he famously promised. And when he did, they did not always part as friends. So what does that say about them? What does it say about Donald Trump? And what does it say about Donald Trump supporters who never seemed bothered in the least by any of it? I want to ask my experts. David Frum is a staff writer for The Atlantic. Kevin Madden is a political analyst and former advisor to Mitt Romney. I should also mention David Frum was chief speechwriter for George Bush. Thank you both for being here. You know, David, when you see that all laid out like that, I know we've all lived it in bits and dribs and drabs, but when you see that all laid out, it's a bit stunning, you know? But is there any tipping point, you think, for avid Trump supporters?
You don't need to tip the avid supporters. That's not how political change happens. Look, 1932, Great Depression, red lines, Americans hungry, the country on the brink of revolution, and the incumbent president, Herbert Hoover, still got almost 40% of the vote, but he lost. The way political change happens is not by convincing the most avid supporters, but convincing the least avid supporters. That's what happened in 2020. Donald Trump lost in 2020 by so decisively by 8 million votes cast because of a collapse in his support among white men, among men, especially white men, especially college-educated white men, people who are the heart and core of the Republican constituency. Now, remember, he still won more of them than Joe Biden won, but he won enough fewer in 2020 to knock him out of the presidency. And that's the dilemma that Republicans face in 2022, is not that their support is going to collapse, but the support is going to deflate just enough in a two-party system to mean the other team wins.
So, Kevin, are there gradations of Trump supporters? As we're sort of talking about that, right? And even Joe Biden tried to clarify that. He said he didn't mean all Trump supporters were, you know, problems for democracy. He said there were those who were violent or advocated for violence, and then there were those who just supported Trump. But on the spectrum of Trump supporters, you know, how many on that spectrum do you think he's going to be losing with everything that's been going on just in the last, you know, couple of weeks, let alone a couple of months?
Yeah, no, that's the right way to look at it, which is that there are different levels and there are different factions within inside the what is essentially the Republican coalition right now. But, you know, I think if we look back at history, we've always had Goldwater Republicans, and then we had Reagan Republicans. And in many cases, the most ardent Trump supporters are what you could call Fifth Avenue Republicans, which is, you know, the famous quote that Donald Trump said, which is, I could stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and they'd still vote for me. They are just all in with Donald Trump. I mean, they view him as a vehicle for a lot of their frustrations with the political system and also the political left. And as long as he's fighting both of those entities, they're in his camp. But there are also a lot of nose holders, people who didn't feel like that they had an opportunity to vote for somebody else. So Trump was speaking to them, and they weren't going to vote for a Democrat. So even though they didn't like Trump, they voted for him. But really, you know, the main thing is that inside the Republican Party, if you're ever going to really take Donald Trump on, somebody has to take the fight to him relentlessly, methodically, and present that alternative. And that was sort of the conceit of the GOP field in 2016, was that everybody inside that fight believed that Donald Trump was not their problem, that he was somebody else's problem. He was Marco Rubio's problem. He was Jeb Bush's problem. He was John Kasich's problem. And as a result of it, none of them really consolidated enough support. And that's how you have a Donald Trump with an iron sort of hold, an iron grip on today's modern Republican Party.
Okay, so I only have 2 minutes left, but I want to give you each a moment to sort of answer this in your best estimation. You mentioned the shooting people on somewhat on Fifth Avenue, which is the famous, you know, bar, apparently. I can't believe we're saying that, but there it is. That's a crime, right? And I'm not so sure that we are settled yet on whether the Constitution, which says, and I'll read it, no person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of president. Neither shall any person eligible to that office who shall not have attained the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States. That kicks David Frum and me off the list, having been born in Canada. But there's really, you know, no settlement between the laws that many of them, lots of statute says you can't hold, you know, a high office or American office if you have a felony. but we've never tested it. So, Kevin, I'll give you a shot at that first. If you can give me your best estimation in 30 seconds, and I want to give another chance to David as well.
Well, I don't know. I mean, look, the legal process has to play out. I think the best chance that Republicans had for maybe moving beyond the Trump years and having a better offering for a candidate to present a case to the American people would have been the last chance they had during the impeachment process. This is a legal process that's going to have to play out. There are accusations. There are concerns, there are possibilities of broken laws, but we just don't know yet and how that's going to play out in this current political environment.
Okay, David Frum, what do you think?
I wouldn't look so much at as those formal rules as this fact. Since the year 2000, there have been 6 presidential elections. 12 people have sought the office of President of the United States. You can rank them in the share of the vote they got from the best to the worst. Donald Trump, of the 12 people to seek the office of the president, ranked 10th and 11th, second from the bottom and third from the bottom. The thing to understand is he's a massively unpopular candidate. He was unpopular in 2016. He fluked into the office. He lost Republicans the House in 2018. He lost the presidency in 2020. He lost 2 Senate seats in Georgia in 2021. So the question is, how many hitting in the head lessons do Republicans need? And that's one of the things that's going to be on the ballot in 2022. Is it looks like Republicans may be heading to a surprisingly disappointing result, especially in the Senate, and it will be Trump's doing, because Trump is a giant loser. And that doesn't mean that his fans don't love him. His fans do. But it's a big country, and it takes more than a small bunch of fans to make you president of the United States.
And of course, we've got these investigations, and who knows where those are going to go. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.